Lost, lost as a child's first thought. I must have arms to hold me, lost without loving care. I must have my fair share.
Nice, sweetheart.
So I'll send her a private message. She decided this supposed to me, which is awesome.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, you
So
got
cool.
a cute
Good.
little
Well, let's look
heart.
at X-rays a little bit and talk about.
Do you need to
what
see?
Yeah, we would great. We will pop up the X-rays. And he did great. He did have to be sedated, which is what we were expecting. You
He
know.
did?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
just masked him a little
Okay.
bit, and he did really well with that.
That's good.
And
Hi, baby.
we were able to get a bunch of pictures. And I guess what the most disappointing part of it is, I was hoping not to have to fuse the wrist, but I think you're going to end up having to have that wrist fused. I don't think that there's any other good way for him to function.
We were kind of hoping, and I know nothing about it, but there might be something along the lines of a plastic surgery or implants or something.
What do you mean by, like,
Some way to put artificial bones for him, or
well, do you know what a fusion is of a joint? Like, it just basically makes
locks
the
it where it
joint-
can't
yeah, 'cause
move.
we have to address his medical needs, and
Right.
I think most of his pain comes from movement in his wrist. It's abnormal. You can feel the bone popping on the bone, and it hurts him. And so we have to stop the pain. And in order to stop the pain in a wrist joint, we would fuse the wrist joint so that it doesn't move as much
so
anymore.
there's no way to surgically correct it or put
It
an
is a
artificial.
surgical correction, basically. It's a salvage procedure, and we would use either a tiny little plate or some pins to kind of hold the joint together until it finishes fusing by itself.
But then he'll have no movement,
Then he
right?
won't have any movement. Yeah.
So I guess my question is, no way to accomplish relieving the pain and still having movement.
Having movement, and then let's go look at the X-rays together and see. The bones aren't set. See, the bones don't match real well together here.
Right.
So, and that's this bone doesn't fit the curvature of this bone, and so the movement is painful. And what's most important is to make him be comfortable. And so, what we would try to accomplish would be to make this not move anymore, so that he can be comfortable.
And there's no such thing as like an artificial joint for a cat's wrist, right?
For the wrist yet, no, there isn't an artificial joint yet. Like where you could take this bone out maybe and put a new bone in, that would be nice. No, not quite yet. And, so this is the part, this bone itself, the radiocarpal bone, does not match this area so well. See, this is the more normal one on the other side. See how this lies much differently?
Right.
See, the curvature of that bone matches the curvature of that bone. And so these two, and you can see how they are not sitting together real nicely. So,
So how will he walk with the fusion? Will he be able to function?
yeah, there are a couple areas that are still things that we have to think about. We can't talk about that. So where his discomfort is here. See, this is where there's too much movement, and that hurts him
Mm-hmm.
when you move that side. What happens is we would try to see how his angle is kind of off. See, it's too
Yes,
bent.
yes.
Because
Right.
if you look at his other foot, see how nice and high and straight it is?
Right.
So if we could make this side straight, then he would not be so uncomfortable.
Mhm.
What we don't know is, because he's a little unusual, we don't know if then he would still walk as well on his toes, because his toes are also fused. Like these toes are together and these toes are together.
But that's naturally fused, right? They were already fused. They haven't been surgically fused.
No, he was born with that. It's called syndactyl, so he's born with that deformity.
What causes that?
But it was a birth defect, something that happened while they were in utero still, when the toes are formed in the first couple trimesters. So what I don't know is, now he walks like this. So if I push his paw up, it changes the angle in the toes, and then there's more pressure on the toes. If he can walk normally because his two toes are fused, we won't know that until we fuse his paw.
And he's holding it up all the time because of the pain, right? Or a lot of the time. I just noticed him.
Yeah, I think he does, because he's uncomfortable. So what we don't know is, if I bring the paw up, he will have more pressure on these toes, right, and on this joint. So because his toes are normal, will he be able to walk normally on it if I make the wrist straight?
And then if he can't, then what do we do?
Then we have to deal with the toes also.
And what would be the options there?
Don't know yet until we kind of see what's happening. Don't know. I have to see about that. I have seen some where we have to, like, sometimes it's just a small pressure point. I've had a poodle where one of the toes was curled and it stubbed it basically, and so we removed a little portion of the front of one toe, and that solved the problem. We won't know until we see it. Can you come back out?
Come on, baby. Come on.
You could try. He's a little bit small. We could try to see if somebody could make us a
prosthetic.
Prosthetic for him. Yeah, like a little wrist.
But even with a prosthetic, he would still need the fusion surgery to.
Eventually, I would think, like a prosthetic, basically like a little car. See this tape? Everything gets so raw on the little man.
Yeah, that shouldn't be.
He's not particularly excited about having. So if we could make a little brace that holds the foot in place to keep the wrist from moving around, that's a possibility as well. That would be a non-surgical way to deal with it.
Would that relieve his pain, or would he still?
Only if he has it on, I think. But see, what's going to happen is when he's so squirmy. when we make the wrist straight, then these toes have to move more. Does it make sense? Now all the movement is in this joint, and then if that joint is fixed, then these toes have to move more. And I think they can do it. I think they're okay to do it. We just don't know for sure until we try it.
Right.
Because they're not super normal toes. These two toes, those two toes, they're together, and then these two toes are these two toes, they're together.
So you don't think it'd be wise to try a prosthetic option first, or?
You can certainly try a prosthetic and see how he does with that. I don't know. You have to try that.
Is that something that you do too?
No, we work with somebody that does them for us.
I don't mean the building of them, but you would be his doctor on having them.
Yeah, it can. Derek, how much longer are you in the area?
Just till today, but
today, because I can call him. I don't know if he's in the office. He has an office. He makes prosthetics, and he could measure it out and maybe make one, and you could see how that would work. But you would Velcro it on and off, and it would hold his wrist up.
Would he be able to pull it off easily? 'Cause he did pull one of the splints off, even with the tape to his leg.
Tape, yeah. I don't know. You have to see. It's it's something to consider, to try to see if he holds it. It's not a permanent fix in a way, that you're not solving his problem. as long as he has it on, he can walk probably better on it.
Mhm.
But when it's off. You know, you still have a dog,
Yeah.
an animal that has too much movement in the wrist.
Whereas,
The bones
if
don't line up.
if he has the fusion surgery, his pain's all gone, and then we could still use a prosthesis if we need to adjust his step,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
One thing I noticed is he doesn't put any weight on the back part of the paw. It's almost like the whole leg and ankle is too short. Is that, or is he holding the back of it up just because he has to?
What do you mean the back?
Well, I noticed when he was walking, he's only walking on the front pads.
Well, actually, he's not. I think he's pushing it down too far. That's his problem. He has a hyperextension injury.
Oh, okay.
And it was not nearly an injury with him. He's born like that because his radiocarpal bone doesn't have a normal shape, and so the end of his radius and the carpus aren't aligned appropriately, and that causes pain, and that allows too much movement in the joint.
Do you think that his other paws are okay? Don't need any?
No, I think
correction?
not now. I think his biggest issue is his left front paw.
Because did you ask about the back toenail thing, or claw?
His toe pads have these little growths.
Yeah, do you want to show me real quick?
Sure.
Come on, baby. Come on. Come on, sweetie. You're a good boy. Come on. You know you want to. Come here, baby. Here. Oh. He'll come for you.
I don't know if they, let's see, if they hurt him or not.
Yeah, those, yeah. Yeah, he has them on some of his front toes, too.
Yeah, I think he gets them on all of them. I'm surprised he doesn't have one right here and here.
What are they?
This little callus on his toes.
Is there a way to treat those or prevent them, or?
I don't know. I'm not sure why they're there, if this is just something he makes. He makes like too much pad. It doesn't seem to hurt him, does it?
I don't know.
No. He's walking fine everywhere else. It's just who he is.
So what would be your recommendation then? The fusion surgery, and see?
Ideally, it depends on how aggressive you want to be. You know, you have a cat with an unusual problem. He was born with an abnormal wrist joint and an abnormal paw. So it's a little bit of an adventure to see what happens with him afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, if you wanted to try to step along as fast as possible to get him to a point where he doesn't need anything in addition anymore, ideally you would fuse the wrist joint, because it's never going to be normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then see what happens, how well he walks with these toes once the wrist is up. And if he works great with it, then there's nothing else you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
If he does have issues, because his pressure points are a little different with the two fused portions of his toes, then you may end up having to deal with the paw later down the road too. But nobody will probably be able to predict that, because it's a condition that's rare enough that you're just gonna have to kind of see how it goes.
And would he
want to put like an intermediary step in there, and you're not sure you want to make a decision at this point, then I would go and maybe see Derek now before you leave to go back south, and he can potentially make you a little mold.
Mm-hmm.
And make a little cast that can go on and off, so that you don't end up dealing with the tape and the rub sores that you have right now.
And how close is his office to here?
Maybe 20 minutes from here, like out west. It's not that far. Mm-hmm.
Do you want to try? I don't know if you have enough time to make it back to the airport, or would there be a company in Columbus where she lives that could do that?
There are very few. There's like 5 in the world that do this, and he happens to be here. There's one in Colorado that I trust, but I don't have the person that does the measurements. It's usually Dr. York does all the measurements for us, and she's not here today.
Did Dr. Marcellin mention Tiger's dilemma to you at all? Dr. Marcellin, Tiger. He's working with me on a little kitty named Tiger that lost his back feet in a trap. But that company, Biotech, has been working on his prosthesis for months with no results. Did he mention Tiger at all?
No, we haven't talked about Tiger.
Yeah.
No. What are you trying to put, like do an osseous ingrowth into him?
No, he didn't feel like he was a good candidate for implant. Something to do with him still having ankles or not having enough to. He was worried about the possible things that could go wrong. So they're going with just prosthesis.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
I've had a
not
cat that
implant.
had no paws.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen that cat?
One licorice.
No, no, here in Vienna. Our little Siamese cat, she has no paws at all. Like all full paws are gone. They were
Right.
actually frostbite. She lost it
Oh,
to frostbite.
oh, oh.
She was like she found them in the winter time. Belongs to a veterinarian, and so.
Oh, that's awful.
I know, we see all sorts of weird things.
I rescued one this winter. It was 9 degrees. I have no clue how they make it out there. And this cat was balancing one paw off at a time, rotating to try to keep from freezing. But he's okay. That's terrible.
Yes.
Well, that's
so ideally, I would actually take a little graft from the shoulder, put it in there, and then fuse it either with like tiny little cross pins, or I haven't had a chance to measure out the X-rays yet, but or maybe with a tiny little plate over top of it.
so a little graft of shoulder bone, and that won't affect his use. And will he be able to jump and do all the things he does now after it's fused?
A couple months, yeah.
Yeah.
He can use that splint from Derek either way, if you make one, because we can use it after the surgery too to immobilize, because we will have to immobilize the foot for
We could also
while.
use it now instead of the one that's rubbing him raw.
Yes, that would be good.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should kind of hurry and try to go there. I could drive you if you don't want my stinky car.
Okay.
If you could see us. Her
Yeah,
flight, I think, is like at 6.
It's 6, okay. That's organized.
Gonna take
How
some.
soon would you be able to do the surgery on them? Hey, Spock. What are you doing, buddy? You see him holding his foot up.
Yeah, poor baby. Well, at least I know you won't be lonely. Gosh, what a pal.
Huh?
He's awesome.
He's so sweet. Yeah, all he wants to do when I'm at home is sit in my lap and lay across my chest. Just cuddle as close as he can. His balance is bad.
Poor little guy. Oh. Yes, you are. You're a fair guy. You're a fair guy. Oh, you're a fair guy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, little buddy. Yes, you are. Mm-hmm. You smell all kinds of kitties because they're always sniffing my camera. Yes, kitty approved.
You kind of see his foot while he walks.
Yeah.
lost, lost as a child's first thought. I must have arms to hold
You
me,
should probably stay on
lost
the video
without
that his legs like that from the split.
I must have my fair share. Fair, fair is a changing word, but fair is an honest promise. Justice, if you're still there, I will have my fair share. Justice is a lady. Lay me down with justice in a long white gown. With a breath of love we can share.
Come to that.
Share. Sleep with me if you dare. Celebrate my fair share. There is a changing world. There is an honored promise.
You're not in the picture.
You're still there. I will have my fair share. Justice is a lady. Lay me down with justice in a long white gown. With a breath of love we can share. Share. Sleep with me if you dare. Celebrate my fair share.
There's a pretty face. There's a pretty